Well, once upon a time, we were saying that Marvel Spider-Man 2 was about 2 years out. Well, one very interesting thing about time is that it continues to tick, and we have our sights right now on the game, and that timeline has already changed. We are now in 2022, and we're talking about Marvel Spider-Man 2 being out next year. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. And today we're going to be talking about this Marvel Spider-Man 2. We're going to be looking at different aspects over the course of the next few months. Hopefully we're able to get more information that is much more definitive. And I think a few things are quite pertinent that we start to discuss very, very soon. So one of the best things that has been done in the past few years in terms of superhero games is the Spider-Man games. Marvel Spider-Man of 2018, Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales of 2020, and the remaster of Marvel Spider-Man, all done by one video game studio, and then they dropped a trailer for us letting us know that they were working on a sequel to Marvel Spider-Man. So this is something that has been really, really interesting. We've been looking at all of this stuff, especially those of us who are into superhero games, be it DC, Marvel, or both. And for some other people, you could even count in Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy that was released last year. But honestly, a much more phenomenal game is the Spider-Man series. Not necessarily saying that, one of them is better, it's just Spider-Man has a huge following and Spider-Man's a very popular superhero. So to actually see a Spider-Man game after a plethora of other Spider-Man games that didn't necessarily seem well polished or whatever, it's really nice and interesting to go ahead and see something of this nature, if you get what I mean. I mean, think about it. We got to see the first Spider-Man game that came out in 2018 that really did change a lot of our perception in terms of a quality video game, because from, before that, the best set of video games that really did take the cake were the Arkham games. There was no doubt that Batman Arkham City, Arkham Knight, Arkham Origins, and even Arkham Asylum were kind of sitting on top of the Hall of Fame in terms of the best superhero games that were made. But then Insomniac came in and they said, hey, we took some notes, we paid attention, we listened, we watched and saw the success of of Batman Arkham, and we took some of the best parts of it and made ourselves a Spider-Man game. So that was actually pretty interesting. It was something that I thought to myself, man, there is no doubt that this is something that many people were very excited about. So that was definitely that. Now, in terms of the Spider-Man 2 game, I think one of the biggest things that everyone has to admit is the story. The plot looks very intriguing. We got to see both Miles and Peter, and we also got to see Venom. The big question that many have also asked is Venom actually a friend or foe? That has been a very huge aspect of it, because, one of the things that you can actually think about in saying, whence cometh Venom, in this whole storyline? Is he going to be someone that's going to be sitting there to help? Is he going to be someone that's going to be, antagonistic against the Spider-Man? And how is this even going to play out? Are both, people, in terms of both Spider-Man, are they going to be in a situation or in a position where you're going to play them both in different scenarios? Or are they going to be in a situation where, sometimes you may have to actually play and switch back and forth like Batman did? Or if you've played the Arkham games, when you play these missions with Batman and Robin, where both of them are going into these different areas and taking, care of bad guys. So these are some really interesting and pertinent questions that need to continue to be asked. But nonetheless, I think Insomniac understands a very, very strong schedule and timeline. And then being a studio that's within Sony's ecosystem, especially where they're making this particular exclusive, I think it's going to be very important, in the next few months for us to see exactly how all of this plays out. Another really interesting thing, nonetheless, though, is the Arkham games themselves, already have set this standard, which they're still really solid. I mean, many people might say, well, the Arkham games don't necessarily meet up. Well, you need to also remember that the Arkham games are available on PC, where in terms of Arkham Knight, Arkham City, and Arkham Asylum, and even Arkham Origins, these games are running at 60 FPS. So even with the PS5's performance, the Arkham games are already playing on a platform where they can run that way. And if we get to see remasters for the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, then they are basically going to be, in a sense, just sitting there as well as some of the better games as well, even including Spider-Man. I mean, we will take as many good superhero games as we possibly can. But here is my proposition for you guys. what are your thoughts on the story and the plot points right now? Everyone has a guess. I think the entire thing in terms of who knows what the story is going to look like is only available to the production team, the development team, the writers, and even the creative director. So it's probably an in-house thing in Insomniac where they're the only ones that know how this story is going to pan out. But in regard to us, we only are here to just hypothesize and keep our hypes up, or maybe keep our hopes up in terms of how the game is going to look. And hopefully the game does not get delayed overall. But anyways, that's pretty much my video. I appreciate you guys' time and audience. Thank you so much for tuning into this particular channel. And I guess we'll talk in another video. Appreciate y'all. Peace out.